Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to the More Analytics Afternoon S&P 500 Gold and Bitcoin podcast for January 8th going into the 9th. We'll start off with the S&P 500. Been bullish overall from 3502. We've seen 3,504.75 to the upside. A lot of other bullish calls in here. Those are all now on hold. We'll trade back below 69.67. Basically 69.6750 now warrants a decent pressure, likely for days. We've just seen pressure down to 69.35 and a quarter before short covering back up towards the line. If we were to break back above where that line comes in decently at 69.6689 to 69.6853 minus 0.04 per hour, that would warrant a decent strength again. A decent penetration in there overnight is going to be 24 points. A decent failure back below this formation right here is going to warrant pressure. That's going to come in at 69.6349 plus 58 per hour at 6 o'clock. And a further decent break below this formation right here, which is going to come in at 69.1925 plus 44 per hour. That'll warrant a pressure for 100 points minimum. And then the gold. I'm not going to go over all the higher time frame stuff. Trade back below 44.6740, brought in pressure down to 44.15. But that bearish call is now on hold. We broke above this steep formation right here. It's not necessarily one that I would suggest leaning against, but nonetheless negates the bearishness and resumes bullishness. Bear with me just a moment. Decent trade below 44.2690. Plus 10 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. will warrant a decent pressure. And in the Bitcoin, I'm not going to go over all the higher time frame stuff. The trade above 87.930 brought in 7,315. Then the trade above 88.540 projects this upward 2,000 minimum, 17,000 plus maximum. We've seen 6,705 of that. However, those were put on hold. The trade below 91.259 now warrants renewed pressure. We've seen pressure down to 89.410 before short covering back up towards the line, which now comes in at 91.643 plus 24 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A decent break back above that will negate the bearishness below it and reestablish bulls. Decent trade below this formation right here, which is going to come into 89,545. Plus 17 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. That'll warrant a decent pressure. We break below there decently, back up through it decently, look for decent short cover to come in. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good evening, and I'll see you on tomorrow's podcast.